Donald Trump recently signed an executive order mandating the harshest possible punishment for people who took down statues of Confederate representatives or any other kind of monument that the federal government deemed, you know, of national interest, I guess you could say. And they're never really clear about why they want to, except they just want to keep the statues up. But here's the funny thing about that. First of all, those statues represent traitors. Why would you want to have statues of traitors up unless you yourself worship the traitors? Unless you're on the side of the traitors. Second of all, Donald Trump really does not have the authority to mandate something like this because this is really a state issue. In fact, it could even be argued in the courts that it's a city issue, a municipal issue. If a statue is in a certain location and it's funded through tax dollars, well then the people of that city, the mayor, the governor, the state, whoever it is, they are the ones who have the authority to decide whether or not to take that statue down. Now they of course go to the people, they poll the people and say, do you want the statue taken down or not? Now they could say yes or no. And depending on what they decide, the mayor, the governor, whoever issues the ruling, and people take it down or maybe just leave it alone if people want to leave it up. So Trump's executive order is not only an overreach and unconstitutional, it's also a showing of his hand here, a showing of his cards, that he really stands for racism and the Confederacy and slavery even. He stands for all the evils that the Confederacy stood for. And he proves it all the time. You know, he loved talking on the campaign trail back in 2016 about how he's going to bring jobs back to America. The forgotten man will never be forgotten again. It's tremendous. Believe me. Believe me, guys. Totally awesome. Fabulous. It's tremendous. Yes. And what did he do? Most of his stuff is made in China. He hasn't brought those jobs back. He doesn't want them brought back because Chinese labor is cheaper. But here's the thing, guys. What happens when the Chinese people begin to realize, hey, we can make more money. We can demand more money with what we have? Well, the Chinese government, as we know, is extremely authoritarian and they crack down on such things. But the laws of economics throughout history have shown that those types of authoritarian crackdowns don't generally hold out. And people who want more money, in the end, find a way to get it. So what's going to happen then when Trump or somebody like Trump or others all throughout the coming years like Trump try to get their businesses overseas to other countries who haven't tasted capitalism yet? And they say, oh, we can exploit them and say, oh, look, if you do all this work for me, you'll get a shiny penny, right? Well, eventually they're going to run out of countries to exploit because everybody's going to catch on and they're all over the world. They're going to be like, you ain't pulling that trick with us anymore. We know better. So we want a living wage. We want everything that we want to be treated as human beings, right? Well, then the capitalists are shit out of luck because they have nowhere else to go. So it's best to just treat workers as human beings right out of the gate. But anyway, back to the statue thing. Yeah, Donald Trump's executive order here is unconstitutional. It is an overreach. It's also cracking down on free speech and the right to protest. Again, unconstitutional. But it's also a demonstration in what the right claims to fear the most. Big government. This is a demonstration of big government. And yet, they're still saying, yeah, we should crack down on anybody who takes those statues down. It's our blah, 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 history, blah, blah, heritage, blah, blah, culture, all these things. But these are the same people who bitch and moan about free speech whenever they get censored for spewing hate or violence. Well, which is it, man? Which is it? Do you believe in free speech or don't you? The answer is you only believe in free speech when it's to your advantage. But if it's speech you don't agree with or you don't like, you just say, no, that doesn't count. Free speech only counts when it's something I agree with. Now, to be realistic, this actually isn't just to the right. This happens on the left as well. It happens to anybody who is quote-unquote woke in whichever direction they claim to be. Because it's like, yeah, well, I've seen this way, I've seen that way, and all other ways. Well, this is the direction we should be going as I interpreted it. So my way is correct. Everybody else shut up and just do what I want you to do. Well, now you see the problem, right? Free speech is a fundamental principle. Either you're for free speech or you're not. You either allow free speech or you don't. You either allow the right to protest or you don't. So these Confederate statues, Trump is not only grossly overstepping his authority and cracking down on First and Fourth Amendment rights, but also he's paving the way for authoritarian despots to pop up all over the country when he's gone, because he is eventually going to be gone, and for them to pick up where he left off and make things even worse. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. Heed the lessons of the Weimar Republic. They tried to be democratic, and authoritarians slipped through the cracks and seized power, and they became Nazi Germany. It was only by the teamwork of the entire Allied forces that brought the end of Nazi Germany. Well, I ask you this. What's going to bring about the end of an authoritarian U.S.? You think other countries are going to come all over the world and try to overthrow us in a World War III-like scenario? Doubtful. Let's not let this happen, guys. I mean, this is ridiculous. This whole argument over statues is ridiculous. Statues are meant to emulate and remember. They're not meant to idolize things that are bad. Now, these people in the Confederacy, they thought they were doing the right thing, as anybody who takes any action thinks they're doing. But they weren't right. Slavery is not right. Owning people is not right. Treating people like garbage just because you can is not right. So enough of this, man. Enough of this crap. Statues are just pieces of raw material, nothing more. Same with flags. Really, same with flags. So anybody who says, oh, you're disrespecting the flag, how unpatriotic of you, go live in some other country. A flag is just a piece of fabric. That's all it is. Now, the design on that flag might mean a specific thing or a specific set of things to you, but it means a little bit different to somebody else. It's not set in stone what it really means. So when you complain about liberty and freedom and then you say burning the flag should be a crime, well, then you don't believe in free speech. You don't believe in the freedom to protest. You don't believe in telling your government to shove it where the sun don't shine. I mean, the hypocrisy is loud and clear. It's a fundamental, guys. You are either for free speech or you're against it. You're either for the right to protest or you're against it. Can't have it both ways. You can't have freedom for one form of speech, one form of protest, and then completely, seal the manhole cover over everything else. It's one of the prices of freedom right there. The sacrifice of putting up with language and forms of protest that you don't like. There's always a price to pay. That's what they mean when they say freedom isn't free. It has nothing to do with money and capitalism is God's system or some cockamamie story like that. No. What they mean when they say freedom isn't free is that freedom comes at a physical and emotional cost. Eternal vigilance means you've got your head on a swivel. Your eyes are always on the prize. You're never letting your guard down. Now, yeah, it's intensive. It's exhausting. And it seems like, why am I doing this? This is so hard. Yeah, it can seem like that sometimes. But if you really believe in democracy, if you really believe in freedom and liberty, this is the price you pay. Enough about money. Enough about capitalism or socialism. These are bogus arguments. It's just about what you really believe. And as we've seen, of course, from his supporters and what Trump is doing himself, he doesn't believe in freedom. He doesn't believe in liberty. He doesn't believe in justice. He doesn't believe in anything in the U.S. Constitution. The only thing he believes in is himself, Donald Trump. More money and power for him. And his supporters feed on that because they say, yeah, I want more money and power for me too. So it's a matter of relation there. But there are those like myself who believe what we believe because we care about others. and we want what's best for others. Now, that is a subjective way of looking at things, because what's best for one person isn't necessarily best for someone else. But the good thing is we realize that it's not black or white with us. It's not one way or the other. It's very nuanced, and we pay close attention to those nuances and try to articulate them and formulate them into policy as best we can. So, just something to reflect on there. You know, taking down statues, pushing policies that limit free speech and the freedom to protest is grossly unconstitutional. And if you want to take a statue down, as taxpayers, since we funded them, who is this dipshit to say we can't take them down? Right? So I'm going to end with this note to Trump. Your executive order is unlawful, it's unconstitutional, it's authoritarian, and you really have no authority to do what you're doing right now. You don't like the fact that we're taking down statues? Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself with a red-hot poker. Because you have no say in this matter. It's up to us whether we take these statues down or not.